Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be watching this podcast with Club Shay Shay.
Madam BP, you're a couple years older than myself, so we kind of grew up in age. But I'm only 35.
Oh, now. Yes.
No, but you only 30.
I'm going to give you a shovel. In a minute.
I see. You won't let it go. You won't let it go.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Club Shay Shay. This episode is brought to you by Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the woman that's stopping by for conversation and a drink today. She's the highest ranking woman in U.S. history. She's made a career of being first. She's the first woman to serve as Attorney General, African American, Asian American descent. She's also she's been District Attorney of San Francisco. She was the nation's first Indian American senator. She's the first woman, first Black Asian American to be elected vice president. She set the record for the most tie-breaking votes cast by a vice president. She's the first Black woman, Asian American in U.S. history to win the presidential nomination of a major party. She's the first HBCU grad, making us proud. She's a Howard University alum. She's a member of the prestigious Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Here she is in person, Madam BP, Kamala Harris. Madam VP, how you doing?
Thank you very well, Sherry.
It is an extreme honor, privilege, and a pleasure to have you on Club Shay Shay. CJ, who is the producer here, when we started this journey, Madam BP, 4 years ago, celebrities, athletes, entertainers, influencers.
Yeah.
VPs and presidential hopefuls were on the bingo card. You're here, so I want to thank you very much.
I thank you.
When we have guests come on, Madam BP, we like to toast. And what I read on this card, you don't deserve this, you earned this. Being the first in so many areas. And you make us proud. I just want you to know you make us proud for what you've been able to accomplish. And we're 12 days away, and we hope you have an even greater accomplishment. So here's to continue success in everything you've done and everything that you will do.
Oh, bless you, and thank you. And to you, Shannon, to you for all the success and the voice you give to so many issues. Thank you for that. Thank you, and cheers to you.
Cheers.
And I'm not going to actually drink this because I might fall asleep. And I need to do this
I don't want you
with
to fall
Barack
asleep.
Obama this afternoon.
We don't want you to fall asleep.
So here we are. Cheers to everybody.
So before we get into the things that you want to do once you become president of the United States, I want to go back. When you found out when President Biden called you and said that he was no longer going to seek re-election, and you got that call, do you remember where you were and what you thought when you heard him say these words to you?
I do. So I was home. It was a Sunday afternoon. And my niece, her husband, and their two young daughters were visiting and staying with us. And I promised the kids I'd have pancakes and bacon and everything.
Okay.
And then after that, I had a puzzle for the kids, and we were sitting down to do the puzzle.
Okay.
And the phone rang. And it was President Biden. And so that's when he told me. And it was obviously life-changing in so many ways. But, I have to tell you, Shannon, I at that moment, I knew what it would mean, but not in the detail of it, but I certainly understood the seriousness and the gravity of the moment. And actually, one of the first people I called was my pastor. I knew I needed a moment to just be still. And for my spirit and my mind to have clarity about the seriousness of the moment and my role. And I'll never forget that call or that moment or that day.
Your life instantaneously changed in that moment.
Yes,
because now all of a sudden you weren't going to be running, you weren't going to be the VP anymore. You're going to be front and center. And you knew what the undertaking, having been 4 years as the vice president, what that moment would mean.
I had a sense of it, like so many of us, when you this is your life, right? So there are those moments where your instinct kicks in, sometimes before your conscious mind and thoughts do. And my instinct kicked in immediately that I need to focus.
Mhm.
And I need to do certain things immediately, which included making, I think we estimated I made over 100 calls that day.
Mhm.
My team, and I have an incredible team, all came in, and nobody expected, right? It was a Sunday afternoon.
Correct.
In fact, we actually joked who had taken a shower that day. Because, people came in their workout clothes,
Right.
different people and, a bandana around their head, just, and came in, and we then, for hours and hours, well into the night.
Did you tell them? Did you tell them why you had summoned them to come to your place? Did you give them that news, or were you waiting for them to get there to share that news with them?
Well, so the news started to, as you can imagine, pretty much immediately, and but of the many blessings that I have and have had, one of them is an incredible team of people around me. You know what that's like,
Yes.
where they're just there and they will rise to a moment. And no matter how high that moment is, or meaning how serious it is. And what I love, and it's certainly my own work ethic, that there is no job too small or too big. If there's something that needs to get done.
So although you have a huge role now, what's a typical day like for you now once you've been thrust into this? What time are you normally getting to bed? What time are you getting up? And what's some of the activities that you do in a given day?
I'd probably estimate 14-hour, 15-hour days.
Okay.
When I wake up, no matter how little sleep or how much sleep I've had, I work out every morning.
Okay.
Because it's like mind, body, and spirit, right? And then, that's the only time in my day I really own. And then it is, these days, it's not unusual for me to be in 3 or even 4 cities in one day. Rallies with thousands of people, 10,000 people showing up, making calls to folks. Just now I landed in Atlanta, the mayor of Atlanta, who greets me every single time. So I'll talk with elected leaders who are supportive about, so for example, here in Atlanta, what do we need to do to make sure that we're giving folks the resources to knock on doors and remind folks of the power of their voice? And 12 days in, it really is a lot about trying to focus on getting folks to know their power, to not let anybody suppress or silence their voice, and to vote.
Right. So breakfast, what does Madam VP eat for breakfast, or do you have time to, or is it on the go?
No, I when I was younger, I didn't think I needed breakfast. I wasn't a breakfast eater.
Okay.
Now I have breakfast every morning. It's usually a spinach omelet. It's not very exciting.
Right.
But it's protein with a little vegetable. And, I like chicken, apple sausage, and some toast. And then I'm gone.
Madam VP, you're a couple of years older than myself, so we kind of grew up in the 80s. But I'm only 35.
Come on now, I'm your guest.
No, but you only 30. But we grew up.
But just keep moving, because I'm gonna give you a shovel in a minute.
I see. You won't let it go. Dang. We could have just moved on past that real quick, but you drew attention to it. But we grew up in the 70s when music went in fire. Ohio Players.
Oh yes, fire. Come on.
Oh, you were like fire.
Come on.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. What do you listen to now?
Oh, I wish I were listening to more music, to be honest with you, because I love it. Just, but
you don't have downtime. Like when you have downtime,
I don't have any downtime really. I know my little violin I'm playing right now with you. I really don't. But when I love jazz. If it's from Thelonious Monk to Miles Davis. I love Aretha. I was just with Stevie.
Right.
Stevie's, can I tell you?
Yes, you can.
Bucket list. Stevie Wonder on my birthday sang me happy birthday.
Happy birthday
to me.
Oh my.
Can you imagine?
No.
I was literally,
I'm sorry, y'all, but what the fuck is going on right now? This is why this shit gonna be 30 minutes long, but we gonna keep playing.
It was surreal. a bucket list moment
Right.
when Stevie Wonder himself sings you happy birthday?
As an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
could you imagine
Never.
your life would have been like this
Never.
this many years
Never.
later?
And let me tell you, my mother she had every Stevie and every Aretha Franklin record, every album, like literally every one of them. So Songs in the Key of Life, like all those Stevie songs that were about everything from the movement to optimism. I would have never at 18 thought that he'd be singing me happy birthday. Ever. Never.
That's the least. I mean, but obviously everybody knows who Stevie is. He was a child prodigy, 13 years old, and he was doing great things. But to see, Madam VP, what you've been able to do, you've had so many firsts. The first woman attorney general, African American, Asian American descent. You was the DA of San Francisco. You were the first Indian American U.S. senator.
And second Black woman ever in the history of the United States Senate elected. Second in the history of the United States Senate.
Have you had an opportunity to sit back and reflect and it's like, wow, but work is not yet done?
That's more where I am. The work is not done. The work is not yet done. There's so much to do. I mean, to your point, being in the Senate, there is a weight of responsibility that I know we all feel, right? When we have been blessed with an experience that allows us to be a role model.
Great.
And to hopefully inspire people and to remind them of what's important or point out the things that need to be addressed. So, for example, as only the second Black woman elected to the United States Senate, I took on a real role of leadership around Black maternal mortality, which affects Black women and affects their spouses, their husbands, their families, their children. And I feel a sense of responsibility and a very strong duty to make sure that I use my voice and in a way that is about lifting.
Can I remind y'all, this is the same woman that turned around and locked 2 Black women up because they couldn't take their children to school because they were sick.
Lifting up people who have not always been in the room.
Hello, America. Mr. States and Shape stepped out for some Black Ops 6, but I'm here as his replacer. Let's start with Texas, shall we? Well, I think this is, ooh, ha! Things are moving here. Oh, I can go, there. Yep. Yeah, that's all for today, folks. Check in tomorrow.
If you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
If I could speak to my 18-year-old self, I would probably tell her, continue to keep your friends. You know, my best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
What?
Yes.
Y'all made it to the first grade as best friends?
Yes. In fact, she's been out knocking on doors in North Carolina just this last week for me. Wow. I would say, hold on to that, which is your friends are so important. Your family is so important. I would probably encourage myself at 18 to remember that you have a lot of people who are supporting you, even if they don't know you. That's what I mentor a lot of people, Shannon. So This is what I'm really reflecting on, which is what I tell the young people I mentor, including to know that even when you are in that room and you're the only one who looks like you or who has had your life experience, to know you are not alone in that room and that you must therefore walk in that room, chin up, shoulders back, knowing we're all there applauding you. When I mentor young women and men, I remind them that you are often going to be told, well, it's not your time, not your turn. You're too young. Nobody like you has done this before. And I tell them, don't you ever listen to that. I like to say, I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear no. You ask me what I eat for breakfast? I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear it.
Right.
And that's part of what are my life lessons that I try to share with young people to remind them that you cannot ever be burdened by other people's limited ability to understand who you are. Like, don't let their limited ability burden you about your own ability, you know?
Madam VP, you were raised by a single mom. What did that experience tell you about your mom, and what did it tell you about you?
Well, it told me that one of the things that is precious is to build community and family.
Okay.
Like my mother, she understood that there is a community that she wanted her children to be raised in.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when I took the stage as the nominee for the Democratic nomination, that, you know, there is the family that you have by birth, and there is also the family you have by love. And they're equally family,
Yes.
right? And I learned that from my mother. So my mother, I had all these aunties and uncles. My Uncle Sherman, who was one of the first Black men to graduate from Berkeley School of Law, who, when we were young girls, sat us down and taught us how to play chess, because Uncle Sherman said, you need to understand how the chessboard works, because that's the way the world works. There are going to be different players with different moves, and you need to see the whole board. My mother raised us around, like my Auntie Chris, who went to Howard in the 50s and pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she was one of my incredible role models growing up. And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Howard University and pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha. Those are some of the lessons that I've learned from my mother. And I try to also share with people, right? Which is the beauty of community. And it's the way I am, right? Which is, you know, the children in my life, whether they be my own or, you know, my godchildren or whomever, right? That it's a collective responsibility that we have.
Did you know you were different? I mean, were there a lot of people in the community that looked like you and like your mom, or did your mom tell you were different?
Well, my mother taught us to, and everyone in my growing up, you know, they would tell all of us kids that we were special.
Okay.
I don't think we were particularly special.
Right.
But they told us we were, and we believed them.
Yes.
We believed them. I think that's such an important part of what we can all do for the children and the children in our lives. And, you know, but my mother raised 2 Black girls to be proud Black women. Back to music, one of the soundtracks from my childhood was, you know, You Are Young, Gifted, and Black. You know, and that's what it was.
I'll get the phone number later. And
First of all, that's a lie. Stop the count.
we're back, America. Your moderators, they got a hankering for Call of Duty. They're off playing Black Ops 6. Scrap this shit. What is democracy without feedback? And without some freebies. Here comes some free t-shirts. Woo! 3-pointer.
You lost your mom to cancer.
Yeah.
You were very close to your mom because you was a single parent, and that was pretty much what you had, although you had a community
Yes.
to help raise you.
Yes.
How did you cope with that loss?
Grief is difficult. It's difficult. You know, there are 2 sides to the coin about when you have relationships in your life that touch you deeply, and then to lose that person, it leaves a big void, right?
does.
That's the 2 sides. And I think that part of what I was just talking about this, but the big part about grief is, especially if you lose somebody to a sickness, to an illness, I think it's really important that you try to remember them as they lived and not as they died.
Right.
Because I think that's how they'd want us to remember them, but also to remember their suffering, which hopefully was a fraction of their time on this earth, is to compound the grief in a way that I think it adds to the pain. And what they'd want is that their active memory, that our active memory of them is about when they were vibrant and alive. So.
let's get into things that will change what will happen if you were to become president, say in the next 12 to 13 days. Polls suggest that voters trust President Trump, former President Trump, more on the economy. What can you tell the voters, our viewing audience, our listening audience, that if you were to become president, while Madam VP Kamala Harris will be much better on the economy than what President Trump was?
Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up, Shannon. So first of all, let's clear up certain myths.
Okay.
You know those checks that went out?
Yes. Those stimmies?
Right. Right.
The stimulus check.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. Yes. Yes.
We got to be for stimulus, but they call them stimmies. Okay.
The reason those came about is because there was a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and Congress.
Mhm.
People like Maxine Waters, people like Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yes.
Who did the work of pushing to say, people need help right now and we need to send out checks. There was a whole lot of opposition to it, including from Donald Trump's White House.
Yes. Even him. I think he was
And
resistant to it
him,
at first.
yes. That's why those checks, remember, Congress holds the purse.
Yes.
So really, Congress wrote those checks. But then Donald Trump, unlike any president before or after, decided he put his name on those checks.
So therefore, people thought.
So people thought Donald Trump, they gave me that check. And so let's clear that up first and foremost.
Okay.
But let's also deal with where he was in terms of his policies on the economy. He gave the biggest tax cuts for billionaires and the biggest corporations, which caused an incredible deficit. He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which we also call Obamacare,
Mhm.
which benefited so many people, including and in particular Black people in America who otherwise were denied by the insurance companies health coverage because of pre-existing conditions.
Yes. That's most important. Let the people know.
Right?
With a Affordable Care Act, if you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can no longer deny you coverage.
That's exactly right. And if you think about what that means in the context of also knowing the big health disparities we have in the Black community,
Right.
and how more likely, therefore, Black folks might be to have pre-existing conditions,
High blood pressure, diabetes,
all of
certain
that,
cancers.
all of that,
Yes.
asthma
Mhm.
for our children.
Yes. Sickle cell.
So first we gonna stop right there because he never wanted to remove the Affordable Care Act. He said, let's keep it until we can get something better. So that's another lie. That she just turned around and told. He gave tax cuts to $1 billion corporations, but guess what? Everybody pretty much ate off of that. People were able, a lot of those tax cuts brought jobs back to the country. So that's A. Run on that all you want to.
It's all of that.
Cam.
So by getting rid of the pre-existing condition ban, what that did, but he wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
What we have done, and part of my policies going forward include what we need to do to not only retain the cap that we got on insulin at $35 a month for seniors. By the way, Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes.
Correct.
He wants to get rid of it with that Project 2025. Everybody needs to check that out. What he would do to get rid of Social Security, or at least raise the age to 70. So you'd have to work to 70 to be able to qualify.
Right.
Get rid of Medicare, get rid of the Affordable Care.
So, for those of you who don't know about Project 2025, he has openly came out and said, and even the American Heritage Foundation came out and said he has nothing to do with that. Project 2025 has been in place ever since before Donald Trump even ran for president in the first place. So if we're going to talk about Project 2025, what's Agenda 2030? Oh, we're going to talk about that, right? Agenda 2030. Well, basically, the UN wants every country to accept at least like over millions, hundreds of millions of immigrants and refugees into their countries. Hmm? That's not a threat to democracy. They want you to take in 80 million, open up your border, 80 million doggone immigrants within a year. But we're gonna talk about Project 2025. Okay.
Care Act, and that's just on health policy, not to mention bringing back not only tax cuts for the richest people, but what he would do that is about eliminating or reducing the ability of corporations to be required to pay overtime pay
So you could work and the corporations wouldn't have to pay you for it.
for overtime.
Who work for free?
That's right. And overtime means you are actually working a longer day, which means you are more tired,
Right.
which means it requires more exertion. That's why we have overtime pay. So you don't take advantage of workers. In addition to all of that, we're looking at Donald Trump, basically somebody who has never been understanding of the issues that affect the community about disparities. And I'm going to talk, for example, about how when he was a landlord, he denied rent to Black families.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what he did in terms of taking out a full page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five, which were a bunch of, they're not young adults, they were teenagers, Black and brown teenagers. Took out a full page ad on in the New York Times calling for their execution.
First of all, let's stop the cap, because it was the Democrats of New York who turned around and put all 5 of them boys on trial in the first place. And everybody thought that they were guilty of the crime. Even the parents told them to turn around and confess. It was y'all who executed them and then turned around and found out that they were not guilty. Man, I need to look up this doggone information, please. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Central Park 5. Get the case right there. Hold on. Yeah, my computer. wrongfully convicted of rape, and y'all boys are the ones that turned around and had everybody thinking that they the ones that did it.
For crimes they did not commit, they were innocent. Donald Trump, who said of the first Black president of the United States, the birtherism, to have people question.
But it was the Democrats that put them on trial and convicted them and imprisoned them for 7 to 13 years.
Whether he was born in the United States to try and diminish. And then most recently, you look in this very election, legal Black immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, saying they're eating their pets. So so part of what we have to help people understand is don't think you're in Donald Trump's club. You're not.
Right.
He's not going to be thinking.
First and foremost, he didn't say legal immigrants, illegal immigrants. Let's stop the lie. Stop the lie. Let's not pull this race card because we know your ass ain't with it.
Thinking about you. You think he's having you over for dinner? You think that when he's with his buddies, his billionaire.
Ma'am, we haven't seen you in 3 years and you've been the vice president. Be quiet.
Buddies, he's thinking about what we need to do to deal with addressing, for example, my work around what I'm doing to address disparities in Black men's health around colon cancer, around what we need to do around screenings, what we need to do around prostate cancer. Black men are twice as likely to have, and screenings, what we need to do to address.
I'm a survivor of prostate cancer.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
Go James and the Lakers are back putting on a show. And you know I got to get the best deal on tickets. That's why I need to tell you about my sponsor. See?
We haven't seen this woman in 3 years since she's been the vice president. Whose script is this? And what is she? I'm done. Y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And that's it.